Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Arctic Dungeon Master. So, if you've been following this channel since the beginning, you know that I had mentioned something about wanting to DM the Dungeons & Dragons game of Stranger Things. And today, I am going to go over how I create the DM notebook, and I'm going to use the notebook that I took notes for, essentially, for the Stranger Things game, which is titled The Hunt for the Thessalhydra. In case you're new to Dungeons & Dragons like I am, the Thessalhydra is an old school D&D monster that is no longer in the 5th edition from what I gather. The monsters in the Stranger Things version are abridged, and I used some of them from the abridged version, and I used some of the normal monster stats, depending on like what the monster is. Like if it was an owlbear, I used the stats from the monster manual. I should probably go over what books I used. So, I used the monster manual. I briefly looked at Out of the Abyss and looked up the stats for the Demogorgon and realized that if I was going to have level 4 players or characters playing, this was not the Demogorgon to use. So I used the Demogorgon from the Stranger Things version. I also used the monster stat cards. I got the creature and NPCs, and I have the actual monster cards, challenge 0 through 5. Both worked great. I didn't need that many cards. I essentially only needed 3 cards, which is cool. I do have a stat book for the rest of the creatures, but I really don't like to go too heavy on the campaign books. Something that I've enjoyed while doing the Secrets of Greenwold. I have the campaign book, but what I'm really going off of is the notes that I make and jot down in my notebook. So I have a single notebook completely filled with all the notes for Secrets of Greenwold, and this book I have 2 campaigns in it. I have the Hunt for the Thessalhydra, and I also have the Wardlings campaign that I run for my kids. So essentially what I did, and I'll just go over this real quick, is I went over, starting at the very beginning of the book, I took down notes of all the important things, especially when I got to important rooms that had monsters and whatnot. Then I wrote down the stats of the monsters, or if I had a card or something, I wrote down the monster, the page number. Just real quickly, let me go to a monster. So here, if you can see, I had the monster, the Troglodytes, which again is another classic D&D creature. If you were to Google Troglodytes minis into Google, you will come up with some amazing pewter minis from the 70s and 80s. Of course, I have how many Troglodytes I have. I have quick stats on there as well. But really what I'm going to be using when I'm DMing is these cards. And these cards, these monster cards, are great. They're kind of spendy, but you definitely get your use out of them. And they're a lot easier to go off of than the monster manual. The monster manual is great. It has a lot more information. But you can always brush up on your history and then go from there with these guys. So super excited to do this. I basically went through the whole, I put down all the important stuff from here into here, and essentially I can play the game tomorrow night if I wanted to. So that was my quick little spew about how I prepare for the campaigns. Now, of course, this is just one of the many steps I do. The next thing that I do after I do this is I go through here and I separate all of the miniatures for the game, and I get them categorized into rooms. What's interesting about this campaign is that it uses a lot of the same monsters, so I just need to have a handful sitting right in front of me, and I guess that's what the use of a DM screen is for, to hide all that stuff. I don't use a DM screen, so I will probably experiment with this using a DM screen and seeing if I like it or not. And maybe I'll talk about that after I play the game. Anyhow, yeah, it was great, a lot of fun. Yeah, so please let me know what you think. How do you prepare for a game? Let me know if you have a different approach to this, Dungeon Masters, Game Masters. Let me know in the comments. Shoot me a message. If you find this helpful in any way, go ahead and share this. Like it, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you guys again next time. Till then, have a great day.